Federal Executive Council approves Energy Transition Plan. Facebook stock tumbles as inflation and supply chain issues dampen Q4 earnings. And oil prices take a breather as OPEC Plus sticks to output plans. The program is Business Express and we're reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Leah Cotton. Baba Tunde. It's a beautiful, bright morning from the nation's capital city, Abuja, and it's good to have you join us on Business Express this morning. We'll start by informing you that the Federal Executive Council has approved an energy transition plan for Nigeria. It is aimed at achieving net zero carbon emission in the country by the year 2050. Minister of State for Environment Sharon Ekeazo announced this while briefing journalists after the meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari.
This memo clearly set out the pathway for Nigeria in achieving this. Policy on waste management will create a lot of jobs in the circular economy for Nigeria and at the same time protect the health of Nigerians to make sure that hazardous waste like waste batteries are properly disposed of with regulations and including recycling in Nigeria.
2.4 billion naira was approved for the dualization of 131.4 kilometers Kano-Kazauri highway.
The instructive thing is that the financing will be done by the tax credit scheme of BUA International Limited, and they will use Mrs. PW Construction Nigeria Limited, a company in which they have acquired some interest to undertake the construction.
The federal government has exempted bonds and short-term government securities from income tax for a period of 10 years, except for bonds issued by the federal government. A circular by FIRS says the tax-paying public is hereby invited to note that income tax applies to income derived by companies from bonds and short-term securities effective from the 2nd of January 2022, except for bonds, of course, issued by the federal government. Taxpayers are expected to comply with the law by including such income in the self-assessment returns and tax computation of companies and paying appropriate taxes. For clarity, such bonds and short-term securities on which tax is due effective from the 2nd of January 2022 include short-term federal government of Nigeria securities such as treasury bills and promissory notes, bonds issued by state and local governments and their agencies. We move on to the technology market where Facebook owner Meta's shares plunged more than 20% late Wednesday after the social media company posted a weaker than expected forecast blaming Apple's privacy changes and increased competition from users, rivals like TikTok. Facebook's global daily active users declined from the previous quarter for the first time to 1.929 billion from 1.93 billion. Meta said it faced hits from Apple's Inc.'s privacy changes to its operating system, which have made it harder for brands to target and measure their ads on Facebook and Instagram. It also cited macroeconomic issues like supply chain disruptions. The 18-year-old tech giant, which also faces pressure from platforms like TikTok and Google's YouTube, said it expected slowing revenue growth in the coming quarter due to increased competition. And so we move to the business of the day. The Central Bank of Nigeria recently reviewed downward the charges for electronic banking transactions and electronic banking transactions. It slashed charges for automated teller machine, ATM withdrawal, and interbank transfers. ATM withdrawals that attracted a service charge of 65 naira will now be 35 naira after the third withdrawal within the same month from the bank, of course, that is not the domiciled account. It also slashed the interbank transfers to a maximum of 50 per naira transaction from 300 naira. Many Nigerians, if not most Nigerians, will no doubt celebrate this. But what could be the reason behind the review and what are the economic benefits? Ayode Jebo, head retail investment at Chapel Hill, Denham, joins us from Lagos for some answers. Good morning, Mr. Ebo, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
How is Lagos this morning?
Yeah, I think the weather is favorable and the Harmattan has reduced, so we're happy about that.
I guess some serious luck there for Lagosians. So let me start by asking you, there's been a whole lot of review, if you might say. Firstly, help us make some sense of it. How will these changes be affecting the banking public, me, you, and every other person?
Okay, thanks. I think the CBN is reacting to the clamor of Nigerians that the cost of banking transactions are really very high. So, for instance, based on estimate, banks would make about or made about 200 billion from electronic charges or transfer charges last year, which is very significant. And when you also look at this vis-a-vis financial inclusion, surveys have been carried out several times, and it's been observed that uh, customers are very responsive to high charges. So you would see uh, banks now use that waiving of charges as a major point of competition. That if you have for instance, you may have some banks says if you have your salary accounts with them, there will be no charges on transactions. Some gives you a number of transactions that you can carry out for free in a month. So looking at that, I think the CBN is also trying to see how they can balance between having more people to bank, as well as also ensuring that the banks are also profitable or some making money from this. So looking at some of the reductions, so I would say this was also published in 2019. So I think what the CBN is also trying to do is to just reinforce this. So ATM charges been cut down from 65 naira to 35 naira, and which is only applicable after your third withdrawal within a month. You also look at the transfer charges. You see if it's below 5,000, I think that's 10 naira. If it's below 20,000, then you are charged, I think, 20 naira, which is also trying to graduate that. So, and which, when you look at the structure of the economy, where a lot of people would also fall in. So, I feel that it's positive for the economy. Yes, on the side of the bank, rather, it may not be too favorable for them because of the huge amount of income that they get from this in terms of fees and commission that they get on these transactions, because it's reviewed most of all the transactions, the transaction charges, and put a cap on what they should charge. So by and large, I think that it's going to be possible.
Come in here a bit? Now, over time, we've had some expert views say the multiple charges that the central bank had allowed the banks to to charge customers has in a way made them not think outside the box on raising revenue, and then they just slam these charges, and then people we just have to deal with the consequences of that. So these reviews now, what will it mean for financial inclusion, knowing the fact that some people are averse to transactions with the banks because of charges?
Okay, thanks. I think what we would see is that there will be more comfort or more adoption of opening accounts with the banks once transaction charges will be reduced. So I think it's going to be positive. We would see more people trying to open bank accounts, and that is also going to be positive for even for the bank. So you look at it on a in long-term basis in terms of economical scale use, having more people at lower charges will also give them more money. So you look at the NIPS statistics, I think for last year that stated that electronic transactions was around 278 trillion naira from about 168 trillion. That's about 71% on a year-on-year basis. So as we see more people adopt the electronic platform, more people also banking, it would also balance out whatever reduction at the CBN is also putting in place on a holistic basis. It will also help the bank. And lastly, to be specific on your question, banks, I also agree that is one of the cheap means of getting income for the banks. So if CBN also needs to check this, as that income grows, the CBN needs to see how they continue to bring that down, because that's not the main purpose for being in business. Yes, there's the cost to infrastructure, but it should also be very minimal, given what we also see in developed climes.
Okay, so while we're looking at bringing down costs, how will this be affecting the retail POS persons on every street corner and the rural places? Will that affect the charges on those terminals as well?
Yes, I think for the POS is still at 100 naira. So I don't think that has been revised. So for those POS transactions, will still remain the same.
Okay,
But
great.
what we feel that will happen is, as number of transactions will improve, we'll continue to see that. I think that increased by about 51%. I can't recall the exact figure now, on a year-on-year basis based on the NIPS data. So we would see that CBN would also bring down that transaction cost, so that you can have more people comfortable to do transactions using the POS. I think minimum for POS is like 100. And if you think you want to transact or pay for something for 1,000 naira, they're already charging you 100 naira, you may be discouraged and you may not want to do that. So I believe that as we progress, we should continue to see a major revision downwards on these charges, so that we can have more people adopt the use of electronic channels, POS, mobile, as well as transfers.
Okay, great. So how will this be affecting the exchange rate for those who are doing cross-border transactions?
Okay, thanks. I feel that this review of charges did not talk about or discuss in terms of transaction charges for FX transactions. It's still really very high. Transferring offshore is really very significant, that sometimes it's very discouraging when you look at the volume, the amount, the several transaction charges you have to pay for. And I believe that CBN would soon look into this, so that they would also encourage people able to transfer online, and it will reduce the what we call the unofficial transaction that we have in the market, people using cash. That will really reduce it.
Okay, so on the whole, before I let you go, how do you see this shaping the financial services sector in this year, 2022?
Okay, thanks. So I believe that a review downwards would impact on the fees and income and commission of the banks. So the banks will have to look for other areas to cover that gap in terms of other businesses, maybe in form of loan or investments in securities. And for the populace, I think is positive for us. It will also aid financial inclusion. You have more people come into to join the financial system, and that would also help CBN even in terms of controlling liquidity. So when you have less cash in circulation, it's easier for the monetary policy to also control the liquidity in the system.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you for joining us on the program this morning. I've been
Always my
speaking
pleasure.
with Ayo Dijiebo, Head Retail Investment at Chapel Hill, Jinham. Surviving COVID-19 is next, as packaged by Nekaoko.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
My name is Michael. I'm a technician. I've done this work more than 10 years now. The challenge we have here at times it's hard for us to see past, and at times never will take light. If you want to walk, you don't see light. Anytime where there's no light, you can't walk anything. COVID-19, I didn't come out because police didn't allow anybody to go out. We stay indoor. I only survived by the little money I have in the account. We suffered. I started from square one. Because if you can see now, many things here are spoiled. This one, I bought it new now. I want to replace this one here. So we go to square one, everything. Even many things we park here, many of our NGO, they use work. Many of them scatter. But government not give us anything. They say they will give us loan. I don't apply 3 times. Last one I do in November. We never see anything up now. I've learned a lot. If it happen again, but we don't pray that will come. If it happen again, I will stay indoor, but I will go with my tools. Because at times, we have work to do for house. Or anybody can call you for work, can manage go. This one we have now, we're not going with anything. They just come and close this market down, everybody go. You go without anything.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Great, some lessons there going in the lockdown if it ever happens again with his tools. So we move straight to the spices market. Pepper. Yes, it's one of the most widely traded spices in the world and a common staple vegetable produced for human consumption, used in cooking food in many Nigerian homes, and it is getting out of the reach of the common man, some claim. Erica Ivy, who went to a major Watts market, tries to find out the present cost of pepper in view of the recent socio-economic situation in the country and its nutritional value.
Pepper, often known as the king of spices, providing flavor to any kind of meal, are excellent source of vitamin and are rich in antioxidants, which improves human immunity, is on a high demand in the markets.
Can you cook without pepper?
Can't cook without pepper.
If the food is not pepperish, I can't eat it. If I eat it, I'll throw up. So I eat pepper, but not much.
Any food without pepper, you're prone to throwing up now. So most times when you put pepper, it adds taste to the food, and you also feel comfortable eating pepper.
Respondents say all variety of pepper are good when added to any food, as it enhances the tastes and increases appetite for healthy living.
You cannot actually cook without pepper. You need at least a little of it. But for people that have ulcer problem and other things, you don't need to really put much. But for some of us, we really enjoy pepper inside me when it's very hot. When I'm eating it, it makes me sweat. So somehow I enjoy it. That's for me.
Pepper is an integral part of our lives ever since. As long as you're an African, you eat pepper.
the food tasty for you to eat and be satisfied. Because without pepper in the food, your food is not complete.
However, some others say pepper has become an expensive commodity in the markets.
Buy the good one, you at least you see a little thing inside. If you buy the bad one, you lost you. That is how the business is.
The pepper is 15,000. Probably we do buy it 8,000, but now we are buying it 15,000. So before you now sell the pepper finish,
Mark cup 300. This cup 600. Like basin 5,000.
Nutritional experts maintain that pepper are low in cholesterol, saturated fat, and sodium. Therefore, people should add pepper to their meals to enhance the arteries for blood circulation and improve metabolism.
I can't eat without pepper. Pepper is very good. Pepper does so many things in the body. It increases the circulation of blood. It makes the body to be warm and hot like this Harmattan period. If you cook with pepper, it will make your body to be hot, whereby circulate the blood in your system, making you to be fit and healthy.
Vitamins that the body needs to act as an antioxidant to your system. And so we need pepper in our everyday food, but to a minimum level so that, when you take things above the level, it causes problems to balance it up.
They also advise people to take advantage of the nutritional value of pepper for body enhancement, but should be eaten with moderation to avoid adverse effects. In Calabar, Erika Evie for Business Express.
Of course, what is your Yoruba stew without pepper? I mean, it doesn't work that way with us. So we move to the energy market where oil prices eased on Thursday following weak U.S. payrolls data and some profit taking, but remained underpinned by tight supply as OPEC Plus producers talk to plan moderate output increases. Brent crude fell 17 cents or 0.2% to $89.3 a barrel after rising 31 cents on Wednesday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was down 31 cents or 0.4% at $87.95 a barrel, having gained 6 cents the previous day. Economists say this morning's dip might be as a result of the shockingly low U.S. ADP employment print last night, but they believe the supply squeeze may drive oil prices higher through this year. U.S. private payrolls fell for the first time in a year in January, raising the risk of a sharp decline in employment that would deal a temporary setback to the labor market. We move straight to the commodities market. As the stock market resumes this morning, let's bring you up to speed with yesterday's closing figures, where Nigerian equities depreciated in the midweek trade, the first loss to be recorded this week. At the close of trade yesterday, the NGX All-Share Index lost 0.38% to settle at 46,930.66 basis points. Market capitalization depreciated to 25.2 trillion naira as 434.9 million shares exchanged hands, valued at 6.2 billion naira in 5,878 deals. Fidelity Bank, Transco and Cudfield dominated the activity chart. And outside home, let's join Neka Oko for a summary of performance of global stocks.
The rally in global stocks weakened on Thursday following disappointing earnings from technology pace-setters. U.S. equity futures dropped in early trading, with contracts on the technology-heavy Nasdaq 100 down some 2%, while the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average also slipped. Asia-Pacific markets traded mixed on Thursday amid some lingering concerns about global growth and ongoing geopolitical tensions. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 fell 1.09%, while a number of major markets in Chinese mainland and Hong Kong remain closed for the Lunar New Year holidays. European stocks are expected to open flat to lower, with investors focusing on the outcome of the European Central Bank's next policy meeting. The UK's FTSE index is expected to open 2 points lower, Germany's DAX 43 points lower, and France's CAC 40 down 19 points. African markets are expected to open mixed this Thursday after a positive trading session by most stocks the previous day. South Africa is already seen opening marginally positive, while Namibia is pointing downwards.
And that's all we have for you this morning on the program. Business Express returns Friday by 3 p.m. I am Leah Katungbaba today. The weather's a bit cold, so just eat a little pepper. Have a nice day.